Okay, hi, and a very good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this session on Switch. I'll just start with a little sharing on what Switch is. So, the Singapore Week of Innovation and Technology brings together leaders, entrepreneurs, creators, accelerators, and investors from the global Asia innovation ecosystem. So, through the open exchange of new ideas, vibrant networks, and lineup of innovation centric activities, Switch provides a global platform to catalyze collaboration that bring a meaningful exchange across different fields and markets. So the focus industries include healthcare and biomedical sciences, smart cities and urban solutions, trade and connectivity, and emerging sustainable technologies. In its sixth edition, Switch 2021 will feature various innovation and partner programs, culminating in an exciting hybrid festival featuring conferences, the Slingshot Startup Pitching Finals, showcases, roundtables, as well as global partner and networking activities. So in 2020, Switch saw over 15,000 participants from 42 cities across 31 markets, with more than 600 international thought leaders at over 200 conference and masterclass sessions. Together with the Singapore FinTech Festival, Switch will be part of the annual SFF Switch event in November 2021. Switch is organized by Enterprise Singapore and supported by the National Research Foundation. So Switch is offering an exclusive pricing for our Sticky members to be part of the online and physical exhibition at only SGD 1000 with access until June 2022. The tickets are also available for year-long access. Without further ado, let me call upon Mr. Logeswaran, Senior Development Partner from Innovation and Enterprise Cluster, to share more information on Switch. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Gauri, and welcome everybody to this session. I think we are seeing quite a good attendance for today, and thank you so much for that. The other part is definitely thank you to Siki to arrange this for us as well, where we can come in to share more about Switch. I think predominantly what Gauri has shared about Switch in general is already there. What I'm going to do is actually share more about Switch as a whole, meaning to say what Switch was before and also some key numbers on 2020. So that gives you a good perspective of Switch and what we are doing for this year. Aside to that, then I will deep dive into the showcase portion, which is the exhibition bit that is going to actually tell you more about how you can come in to participate as well and why you should participate. All right. So without further ado, let me try and share my content. I tried earlier, it works. I hope it still works now. Okay, I hope everyone is able to see my screen. You'd see the Singapore Week of Innovation and Technology banner there. All right. So the Singapore Week of Innovation and Technology was actually started off by NRF, the National Research Foundation, under the PMO office. So back in 2019 was when DPM Heng actually made the announcement that it's going to be held together with the Singapore Week, the Singapore FinTech Festival that runs in November, right? So if you can see in 2018, 2019, we just talked about 2 years before. It was a full physical event, like how many other events were at that point in time. You can see we had about between 6,000 to about 8,000 attendees that actually came into this physical front. Out of that, the foreign attendees is roughly about 16, 17%. But in 2020, as the entire world was in turmoil, we had to pivot into a digital event in itself. We shifted the event into the December time period, mainly because we needed a bit more time to also work on the digital front. And that actually enabled us to have a lot more attendees itself. So you can see over 15,000 attendees actually came in. And out of that, our foreign attendee also increased to about 27% of that. Of course, local attendees, we are definitely strong in that. We see over 10,000 actually coming from the local front. The 2020 event was a bit more unique. We ran it for 5 days, 24 hours. So because of that, you'd see that we had over 200 content sessions and over 600 speakers actually involved. And if we look at the exhibition front, we had a starking 925 exhibitors on the platform. So that was a crazy number to deal with on top of whatever that was happening for 2020. But somehow we did it. But we took a lot of data points, and we are glad that we did that because we had a lot of data points from it, and we are able to improve for 2021 itself, right? So as we move on, Switch 2020, the main theme was really people and talent, building off the resilience of people in such a difficult year, right? And you can see a lot of our key partners and sponsors that came in. You can see some very big names there like Microsoft, Google, AWS, Facebook, Deloitte, our local research arm, A-Star, and so on that came in. About 80 to 90% of these sponsors and partners are actually back for 2021 as well, right? And if we look at the content portion, you can see there is a Switch Connect, Switch Global, Masterclasses, and Slingshot. So these are actually the channels that we actually run as part of content within the platform. So Switch Connect is one channel that is more thought leadership focused. Switch Global and Masterclasses are held together within the Switch Global channel. That is more based off market access. So if you're a company, you're looking to internationalize, this is a channel that you should actually be watching. And then of course, Slingshot, which is our startup pitch competition that happens. Right. You can see some really notable speakers. We had the president and CIO of Hyundai Motor Group, Dr. Chi. We also had Cindy Hook from Deloitte Asia, and of course, Stephanie Davis from Google, right? So as we move on into Slingshot in itself, what Slingshot really is actually our deep tech startup pitch competition that happens year on year. So we started in 2017 with about 300 over applications. We grew year on year as well. 2019 was about 2,400 applications. And last year, we saw about 7,500 applications to be part of this pitch competition, coming from over 150 countries. So it was massive by then. This year itself, I think we are reaching about 5,000 to 6,000 applications already. So yes, it's another massive competition that's going to happen this year. Part of Switch is what we run as a corporate challenge. So these sponsors that you see here actually come in to share their problem statements or new market direction to really discover more innovative solutions in itself from all the startups who are actually part of Slingshot. So they do kind of like a reverse pitching back to the startup based on their problem statements, and a startup actually approach them. They say, hey, look, I can help you with your problem. Let's work together. So what these companies actually do is they provide them a business contract, or they say, hey, look, I give you this sum of money. Let's work together and let's see how we can go together on this as well. So all these sponsors that you see here, I think all of them are on board actually for 2021 again. Right. So deep diving into Switch 2021 itself, this year, the flagship conference and exhibition is going to be held from the 8th to the 12th of November, where the conference and exhibition is actually on the first 3 days, 8, 9, and 10 of November. The 11th and 12th of November is set aside for fringe and partner events that we run, right? On this note, I'd just like to address as well that Switch is going to be a hybrid event. So last year it was fully digital. This year is completely hybrid, meaning to say that we do have a physical event location that is JW Marriott. So those of you who are familiar, who have attended weddings or events in JW Marriott, you know at the back of JW, there are a few colonial buildings there, right? One of it is the Grand Ballroom. So that is where we are going to run one of the conference stages from. And of course, there are spaces on the left and right of this ballroom, and that is where we're going to have our physical exhibition, and of course, some networking events that run there. The second building, it's called the Assembly Building. That is where we have some meetings and of course, roundtable sessions that we also have during the November event. The third location, which is the NCO Club, that is where the Slingshot pitch competition is going to run from. Of course, all of this is then going to be simultaneously actually streamed onto the event platform that we have. those of you who are familiar with the events landscape, you might have heard of this name, Hubilo. So that is whom which we are actually having the event platform with. It's a off-the-shelf product, tried and tested by many events, and it has worked tremendously for them. We have actually tested this out thoroughly, and we have actually started from the 4th of August having our first event or kickoff event in itself. So we have already started the usage of the platform. I think as of now, we've got close to about 3,000 attendees inside already as we are building up into the November flagship event. Right? So for this year itself, really the theme is on Global Gateway for Innovation, with Singapore being a springboard and also the place to be for many other startups and SMEs to come in, and also for corporates to leverage on these startups and SMEs to build further partnerships and collaboration in itself. Part of this is what we do, the year-long innovation journey. So just to spend a bit more time on this. So when we started last year, with that 5 days, 24-hour sessions, we realized that that was not enough. Yes, we can run content, we can have exhibitions for that long, but in a digital front, that 5 days, 24 hours is really not enough. People want to engage longer. So how can we do that? So hence we decided on this year-long innovation journey, which I mentioned earlier. We started from the 4th of August, and it's going to continue on all the way until 2022 June. Right? What is going to happen during this time period? So on 4th of August, we started with our SG Innovation Community Day. So we had a half-day kind of conference session that happened together with Q&A and some interactions and so on. And monthly, we are actually running webinar sessions together with our premium content partner, which is SG Innovate. And of course, with some of our cluster partners and also key clients. So they're actually coming in to run monthly webinar series, which has kind of evolved into more weekly webinar series that's happening. Really different pieces of content. We even run content for students in universities and polytechnics as well to build on talent per se, right? So that's how the year-long innovation journey comes about. And to write on that is where the flagship event to have that halfway mark, which is going to happen in November, it comes into that part, right? Second portion is really on bringing all this global ecosystem together. So we want to actually link them all up together to foster further collaboration and transformation. The third portion that what we want to achieve is really bringing in more vanguard and emergent innovation topics. So technologies that can address real world issues, that's what we want to actually highlight as well. So the next slide is going to show you the summary of all the activities that we actually run in Switch, right? So like I shared earlier, the conferences. Earlier, you might remember the name Switch Connect, but for this year, it's actually changing. The name is changing to Switch Beyond, but the objective of the channel still remains. Of course, the second channel is Switch Global. Then there's the showcase portion, and of course, the Slingshot Startup Pitch Competition, roundtable discussions that happens with some of our sponsors and also ecosystem multipliers that we have. And of course, the year-long events portion, which I'd already spoken about, right? So as we move into the conference portion, this is really on, number one, the Switch Beyond channel. So like I mentioned earlier, this is really the thought leadership channel that focuses on sectoral and technology innovation. So really enabling conversations in some key sectors and technology domains that we hold, and of course, leveraging innovation as well, right? So day one is really focused on more B2B topics. So that's where you'd see the theme, transforming industries, and topics such as smart cities, IoT, mobility, clean energy, and so on is going to be discussed on the first day. Day two is really more of B2C, where we talk about impacting lives, technology that impact you and me. So digital economy, blockchain, health and wellness. Of course, health and wellness is a huge part of that, seeing that everyone is going into that sector as well. And of course, food and agriculture tech, which we are also strong in, right? Day three is about this vanguard and emergent topics that I was talking about earlier. So really envisioning the future. So you see topics on AI, robotics, space tech, quantum nanotech, ethics predictions, and so on that happens on day 3. But across the 3 days, what we hold constant is really the topics on sustainability and tech for good. So when we looked at these two topics, we realized that we can't run it as a singular session or vertical per se, mainly because it's too broad, number one. Number two is nearly everyone and every topic is going to be talking about these two horizontals in itself. So as you tune into the various sessions also, you'd see that these two horizontals are inbuilt into all those sessions, right? So as we move into Switch Global, this where I mentioned earlier, if you as a company are looking to internationalize, then this is the channel that you should actually come in to watch. So this really, the focus is on content and capabilities expansion in itself. So you can see day 1, day 2, day 3, predominantly it's the same markets that we address based on the various time zones. So mornings it's dedicated to the Americas, afternoons is really where you'd see Asia, Oceania, Middle East, China, and evenings will be where Europe, Africa will be held. Together with this is where we run masterclasses. One section is really Tech Up series that is done by our tech giants. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, AWS, they'll be coming in to run those Tech Up sessions. The second part is on fundraising. So we do have some key VCs who are actually partnering with us. People like Sequoia Capital, Y Combinator, and Monk's Hill, who are actually coming in to run these events. So they are actually going to talk about how the investing landscape is, number one. Number two is if you're a startup or SME looking for further funding, how and what should you do? So these are on that portions, and of course the expand to Asia portions, which is for our global audience itself. Right? So this portion really shows you where Switch is present. You can see from the map, we are actually everywhere, mainly because we've got partners in all of these countries, except for the Arctic and the Antarctic, and of course the Greenland region. So I don't think we'll be moving into those spaces, but really everywhere else, if you do need a partner, if you are looking to actually move into these various regions, we would be able to help you in some way, definitely, right? So let me move into the showcase portion in itself. Really, the first part is about why should you participate or why you should come in to exhibit. Number one, really access to new markets beyond Singapore. Singapore as a country and as a market, it is still small. You would not reach that global landscape that many of the companies actually see when they internationalize. So how can you do that? That is where you can actually connect directly with foreign trade agencies as well to see how you can internationalize. Number two is connect with the rest of the startups or researchers and labs and other SMEs who are within the platform to actually collaborate on new products or solutions. Number three, discover new know-how really through these master classes that we have. That I mentioned earlier, the Tech Up series, digital tools, which is going to enable you to further your business. And of course, the expanding to rest of Asia portion. And number three is the most important part. It's a year-long platform. Once you're on the platform, you get access all the way until June 2022 to really increase your outreach. So number one, your showcase or your booth, it does not need to be manned. You can get connected to anyone at any point in time. So you can do a lead building at any point in time. Number three is where you'll receive notifications when anybody visits your booth or drops in their name card. So I'll go into this a bit more to show you how that happens and how we have actually curated this whole online portion. Then I'll talk a bit more about the physical portion as well, right? I'm going to skip some slides. So this one more slide that is important, the list of industries, right? It's a whole laundry list of about 26, 27 industries that we actually deal with. You can see here, so literally everything else that we actually have within Switch itself, aside to fintech, right? So we leave the FinTech Festival to deal with that, but everything else under tech or deep tech, that is where you'd see Switch actually strong in as well. I'm just going to move into the showcase portion, right? Ignore the price there earlier because there's a special pricing for SIGI members itself. I'll go into that a bit more. So the in-event company showcase really, we can look at it as a two-pronged approach. One is what we call the interactive e-catalog, and number two is the dedicated business profile page, where the profile page is what you'll see on the platform, right? So if I go into the e-catalog itself, imagine like a IKEA catalog. If you are looking to purchase a particular furniture, you can go into the space that you want to actually look out for these furnitures. For instance, I'm interested to get something for a living room space. So I click on that category, I go in, I'm able to see all the furnitures and different accessories that I can actually purchase for the living room space. And I can go in, I can click add to cart and so on. Of course, our e-catalog, you can't add to cart. There's no buying from there. But what it can actually help is actually drive more targeted leads to you. So how this e-catalog works is, number one, it's going to be actually sent out to the attendees 2 weeks prior to Switch. So 2 weeks before the 8th of November, attendees will actually reach this or will receive this, and they will use this as a journey builder for their November event. So number one, if you see this example, the medtech industry, right? So what it's going to entail? It's going to have the various conference agenda sessions that are actually involved with this medtech sector listed there. Attendees can click into those and add that into their calendar. Not to cart, but really just calendar, so that when the time comes for the session to go live, they do receive notifications saying that, hey, you are able to watch this right now. So they can click in, they can go in to watch those sectors. Number two is where we'll have the listing of the exhibitors, right? So each industry, we have about 12 exhibitor listings inside. Two main parent companies, that means those SMEs and those sponsors that we have, and 10 other SMEs and startups within each industry. So what we'll have listed there is really their logo, their name, short company description, and the direct link that the attendee can click and go into the platform business profile page. So this works like a funneling technique. It's going to lead more interested and targeted leads to the business profile page itself, right? So as we move into the business page, you can see here, this is really how the page is going to look like, where you will have either a video or static banner. You will have your description. You can link your various social media content there. You can also list the people who are actually involved from your company, where attendees can directly reach out to. Along to this is where you can have your product videos or various other company videos or even downloadable JPEG documents that you can have inside here. So for this portion, it's really a landing page for interested attendees for them to learn more about your company. They're also available on the platform throughout the year, not just November period. And it includes a name card drop function, right? So what the attendee can do here, they can come in, they can do a IM chat, immediate IM chat with you. They can actually book a calendar slot to speak with you. They can go in to start a video conference, and they can do a name card drop. So what happens when an attendee does all of this is immediately on your email, you get a notification saying that this person, this exact person, is looking to connect with you in whatever way that they've actually tried out, right? So number one, you can go in immediately to address or to reach out to them. Number two is you can reach out to them via their email address or phone numbers that they have and fix another date for a meeting. So this is how the whole lead generation portion happens. What happens further to that is where, let me go into that part. Let me see whether I have that. oops, I don't have it here. Okay, the other part is really on the analytics portion. So the analytics is one part where it shows you the general statistics. Number one is how many people came into your page, who actually started chats, how many chats were started, who interacted with you, and so on. So there's a lot more on the analytics portion that happens. Number two is it shows you, of course, the list of those who have dropped in the name cards. Number three is based off the leads that you actually generate from here. It also shows you who are the cold, warm, and hot leads. Those who are in sales or those who are doing BD function, you'd really know how this works, right? Where you try and move up all those cold leads into warm and then eventually to hot. So the platform already does that for you, where it is based on the interaction levels. The more chats or the more functions that usually run with a particular person, it increases that weightage on that particular person. So all of this is what is available to you. And the special pricing that I spoke about earlier, instead of this 5,000 pricing that we have here, what we are actually providing for CKey members is having a reduced price of $1,000. Singapore $1,000 for this showcase portion. So that gives you access on the platform throughout the year until next year, June, end of June, right? So that is when we have Switch will come in to refresh the system or refresh the event for 2022 itself. So what happens throughout this time is where you'll have attendees coming through always, mainly because, like I mentioned earlier, we run those webinar sessions together with our partners. It is not just pre-event to November, but post-event from November itself. There are already a list of webinar series that is actually panned out all the way from January until June as well. So there will be pockets of attendees actually coming in throughout on the platform. And that is how we engage. Of course, it's not just webinars. There are networking sessions which happen. And in December, we are also planning a lab crawl session. So lab crawls are really the event where attendees can actually go into the various labs that we feature. They can speak to these people to see how they can also collaborate or use their labs to probably come up with a new product or to help them with this portion, right? Really, that brings me to the end of my presentation itself. Let me come back to the Zoom room so I can address some questions if you have.
Yeah, sure, Mr. Logan. So we do have some questions that have came in. Okay.
Okay.
Firstly, there was one participant that has asked, would they be able to attend? Would I be able to attend the event physically, and how long do I have the access for?
Okay, so number one, the access you have on the platform is really until June 2022. So it's a one-time access. You just have to get onto the platform, after which you have access to all of the content, any networking that happens, and of course the flagship event in November. On the physical portion, based on the current situation that we have, we are only going for invite-only participants. So you can't walk into the event, but of course, if you are part of the invited guest list, then you'd be able to attend physically. On the physical exhibition portion, I think I missed out this part. So on the physical exhibition portion, what we are actually planning to do is have it like a art gallery kind of exhibition. So you're not going to see your traditional huge build-ups and places where you'd see people standing around handing out flyers or trying to reach out to you. No, it is really what we are trying to curate, and we will have that actually linked back to the online platform. So that is really the end point that we are actually going towards, which is going to be held at JW Marriott. The other actually interesting factor about this is that we're actually having it modular, meaning after or post switch in November, we're actually going to move it around Singapore to various partners that we have. So one part is definitely the JDC Launchpad in Ayer Rajah. And I think the other one that we are planning for is the National Library, and of course the various IHLs, meaning the polytechnics and university spaces that we have as well. Yep. So that is the unique part on the physical exhibition. Yep.
Okay. Another one is, does Switch help our company create the digital e-catalog?
Okay, so what happens, or what is the process like, right? Is it's like a standard profile page. What we will do as Switch is actually create for you that booth. So it's going to be empty when you actually receive it. But what you would need to do is then upload that portions into that various places on the profile page. But however, if you do need help, we do have an event management company that can come in to help you do some uploads or even creatives at a cost, which I don't know yet, of course, depending on your specifications, they can actually customize something for you as well.
Okay. And how do participants find my business page on the platform?
Okay, so number one is really through the e-catalog. So there is where you'll have a dedicated address or dedicated link that you can also post out into your various socials and so on. All we need the attendee to do is actually sign up for the platform. So as long as they sign up, they can come into the platform, they click on that particular link, they can find you already. That is really direct. Number two is, as they are on the platform, they can go through the list of exhibitors and they'll be able to find you as well. So on the platform, what we go with is usually the alpha order or alphabet split in that sense. So it'll be listed out in that way. On the e-catalog is where you'll be split by industry. Hope that answers.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that. Another one is, when do the applications close and will it be extended?
Okay, so we actually close off the applications. Let me see. At the mid of October. We don't have an exact date for that yet, but it's predominantly on the mid of October, mainly because if you want to be part of the e-catalog, e-catalog actually goes out to the participants 2 weeks before, right? So 2 weeks before 8th of November, and we do need some time to also include the details into the e-catalog portion. However, we would still not close off the exhibition per se. We will only close off if we have reached that particular target number that we are actually kind of targeting. Mainly is for this year, we are looking at about 300 to about 350 exhibitors in total across the various sectors, right? So it's either we reach that number first or we reach the mid-October time period.
Okay, sure. Another one question is that roughly how many business profile e-catalogs are you expecting to host this year?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, 300 to about 350. That is really the magic number, really based off our event last year. 925 was too much. So this year is really a simple layout and we try and keep it small so that there's maximum outcomes for the exhibitors as well.
So what is the ticket price for non-members? This is a question that came in.
Okay, so ticket price for ticket price for non-members are actually at US $50. Still the same guidelines. It gives you access, one-time access, all the way until next year, June 2022.
Okay. One more last question before we take in any others that are on the floor. Whose initiative is the Switch event? Is it linked to any government or company?
Okay, so the Switch event for now is actually under Enterprise Singapore. We work with the National Research Foundation from PMO office, and of course our other partner agencies, meaning to say EDB, that's one. Number two is of course SG Innovate. So SG Innovate really comes in to actually help us with the content bit. EDB is really supporting us on all other platforms, bringing in MNCs and some of the partners that they have, together with speakers as well. So these are the main two that we work with. And of course, NRF, who actually comes in to provide content and let us know what's the direction that we should go towards. Of course, all of us then report to the Ministry of Trade and Industry, end of the day. Yeah.
Okay, just one last one that just came in is that
Sure.
if I am a SICKI member and I were to avail the $1,000 offer, what are the benefits or feature that I would get with it?
So, okay. So together with the $1,000 showcase portion, of course, you have access on the platform, right? That's number one. Number two is you would receive the profile page, the listing on the e-catalog, and you would have access to all of the webinars, the November series, where we have our flagship event, and possibility of being on the physical exhibition bit itself. The physical exhibition bit is a bit tricky for us also, because we are curating it per se. Not all 300 or 350 exhibitors are going to be on the physical front. So that takes a bit of thinking on how we want to do that piece. Yeah. So these are all the things that you will actually receive. Of course, if there are various networking functions that happen within the platform, you will be able to join it because it's actually free after you onboard onto the platform itself.
Okay, I think those are the questions for the session. So thank you, Mr. Logiswaran, for your sharing on Switch. I'm
Thank
sure
you
it's
so
very
much. Yeah.
beneficial for all the members as well. So just before we end, the discounted pricing is only available for SICKI members. So if you're not a member yet, please sign up with us. You can email me at gauri.pillay@sicki.com. I've put in the email address in the chat box as well. So thank you for attending the session, and we're looking forward to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you to SICKI for actually organizing this session as well. I believe it has been very beneficial to everyone. And if you do have questions like what Gauri mentioned, please reach out to them, and we can send across the various details that we have as well. We can answer all the other questions via email also. Happy to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.